Hey guys, welcome back to Metroid Other M Part 15.
The sequence is complete.
Oh.
Metroid Other Mineral.
Nice.
Hey, the rocks and it.
Huh? I actually said that before I realized that there were rocks here.
Yeah, that is thematically appropriate.
Play it up, man.
Area. We're in the desert.
Welcome to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. We've done fire. We've done water. We've done desert.
Oh god, it's a Mario game.
Have we had a forest level? We've had a forest.
Yeah,
level,
We've had
right?
a forest. Yeah. We've had ice.
Just checking off those boxes.
Yeah.
Is there? I'm trying to think of a Mario because like Mario games always have those tropes. I think it's
Mario games got listen. You want some crazy ones like Mario 3, Big World. Mario 3's got like industrial area, or like kind of like airship.
Yes, airship was always cool. Now, what was Mario? Did Mario 3 take place in the Mushroom Kingdom?
I don't know. I'm not keeping up with the lore of that game, but
Lore
it
of the
does
Mario
not
series.
take place in Subcon, so maybe.
This is why I love Superstar Saga because it didn't even like touch the Mushroom Kingdom. It took place in the Bean Kingdom, and they just gave him so much freedom.
Yeah, this is what this is actually what I like a lot about Bowser's Inside Story, which is that game does take place in the Mushroom Kingdom, but it like reframes it all as a sort of like Tale of Two Cities kind of thing, where Bowser's whatever Bowser Kingdom is just sort of like, or the Koopa Kingdom is just sort of like this like underprivileged kind of poor mirror of the Mushroom Kingdom.
And that's why I can't. That's why I can't support Peach, because she's just like an oppressive government that
It's
just
true. No, it's
completely
true.
shits on the Koopa Kingdom.
I mean, she is a monarchy in the truest sense.
That's actually the same reason why, like, as much as I love the Zelda series, I can never get behind saving Zelda, because this is only just gonna make things worse.
Yeah, Ganon for Prez.
Yeah, to be honest, like, Ganon has some legitimate grievances with the Hyrule family. And no one seems to really give him any credit.
Yeah, those kingdoms are messed up. I don't know why we bother saving them.
That's sort of how fantasy things. That's like how fantasy tropes, especially fantasy video games, do some weird stuff in terms of, the good guys are always working for the kingdom, and the kingdom is always like, yeah, it's a king, and we love them. They're great.
And that's
like as far as it goes.
Yeah, there's no like deeper like political undertones to a Mario game.
Yeah, and I think honestly, but the one that does have it is totally Bowser's Inside Story, and that's an interesting little wrinkle in that game.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play that game. I just haven't.
Good.
It's good.
It's not as good as the first two. It does some really, really cool things, but it does get a little bit more repetitive. But it's also like pretty short and quite easy.
Did you like Partners in Time more than Bowser's Inside Story did?
Yeah.
Really? That's
so.
curious.
I like all three of those games a whole lot. Like, let's just say that. I think all three of those games are fantastic. Bowser's Inside Story, I just think is like a little too easy, and also has the problem where like, because Bowser is the new thing, every time you're playing as Bowser is awesome, and every time you're playing as Mario and Luigi is like, oh god, this again.
Yeah, but at least they keep it fresh. Like
it's still good. I don't mind it, but it does feel like just because of having already played two games with those characters, it's like, okay, here we go again. I do think Bowser's Inside Story has a lot of really satisfying like bombast. And like those games always do, has some pretty fantastic writing.
Did you like Dream Team? Because I thought that was a step backwards.
I have not played Dream Team because I heard it was bad and long.
It wasn't bad. It was just stretched out way too long. Yeah.
That's what I've heard. I would eventually like to play Paper Jam, but I have not. I don't have time for that stuff.
I just beat it recently.
I've heard good things. I've heard it's better than Dream Team.
Sure.
Is it better than Sticker Star?
Oh, let's not. That is the only game I've ever returned. Ever returned.
I don't think I've ever returned a game. I think I've like sold back games long after the fact because I wanted money. But I don't think I've ever like played a game and then been like, okay, I don't want this anymore.
Oh, I legit wrapped the receipt back in that bad boy and just and sent it back. I'm like, no, I can't have this in this house. It's horrible.
I did do that with a book for the first time recently.
Oh, what was this book?
wait.
It was what was called Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson.
I guess you were not furiously happy with it.
I was
Yeah.
not.
The irony.
That book was not fast or furious, and it's I had to read. So I have this book club, and they were reading it that month for the book club. But I read the first 10 pages of that book, and I was like, I'm just gonna knock out of this.
Ooh, first 10. Yikes.
Yeah, it
Was it
rough.
that bad that you couldn't even
rough.
give it like a chance? Well,
It's rough, and like I will always give a book a chance. I mean, I think every book usually needs at least like 50 pages or so before you really have a good sense of what it is and whether it's going to be in. You know, I find that like there's a bit of a learning curve with like every book I read. And that no book really strikes me immediately. I sort of always have to give it the benefit of the doubt, dig in, and like sort of acclimate myself to it. But for this book, I just could not. I just couldn't.
Should we ask
real
why
awful.
exactly?
yeah, like was it the writing or the story or the?
So it was a nonfiction book. It's Jenny Lawson is a fairly popular writer. She's a New York Times bestseller. The back has a bunch of pull quotes from a lot of lovely people like Christopher Moore and Neil Gaiman, and maybe even David Sedaris, who I think is a heck of a lot better than Jenny Lewis. Sorry, not Jenny Lewis. Jenny Lewis is cool. Jenny Lawson. But the writing in that book, first off, that book is sort of about mental health and anxiety and all of these things, but has an approach to it that I'm not particularly into. And then second off, is just like the writing is all this stuff that's like, it's supposed to be funny, but really it's just kind of it's just like random, and there's no actual jokes. It's just sort of, haha, here's a funny thing I'm gonna toss in here. What's the punchline? I don't know. There is none. That's funny. So anyways.
It's so just like other M's writing.
I think I'm gonna read this book. No, I'm not gonna subject myself to that. Actually, going quickly back to the game. Wait, hold on. We're supposed to be commentating. So going back to the game.
Commentating. Just this is the lovely hallway.
This is a gorgeous hallway. Hey, what? Why would they need to build a hallway? Well, is this like a rocket ship? No, I can't imagine why they would need to build a hallway that leads to a door an entryway that only a ball could get through.
Put it this way, this entire game has the Eggman problem to architecture. I mean, why does Eggman make boost pads and loop-de-loops on his ships?
So that Sonic can fight him.
Exactly.
Video game level design and utilitarianism doesn't really go together particularly well.
I know. We've said this probably. I'm pretty sure we said this several times, but very little of the level design in this game makes actual sense. And we're told it's a research facility and stuff. Like, exactly how did they get around, and what did half of this stuff for? Because I don't see random researchers just having morph balls or having these long staircases which lead nowhere and don't make any logical sense.
Jordan, let me point out, think about the physical testing you could do on these long spiral staircases.
Man, we could send a Slinky down for ages.
Yeah, I know, but what is this, a training camp? Oh, surprise.
So I was listening to a podcast. This was probably about a year ago, maybe even longer. But I was listening to an episode of 99% Invisible, which is a really great podcast about design. And it was talking about this thing. I forget what it's called, but it's this idea of people who basically like to apply some sort of logic to things that seem like logical fallacies in movies. So the example that they give. And obviously, these things are sort of silly. They're not really within the text itself, but they're these sort of fun theories that talk about why things in the movie that were obviously accidents or things that are not important, but ways to sort of give some logic to them. And so the example that they use in the podcast is they talk about why people on the Millennium Falcon in the first Star Wars movie can hear the ships around them, because they wouldn't be able to hear the ships because there's space is a vacuum, right? So obviously, to most viewers, you would say, oh, who cares? And that's the correct response. It's a movie. It has to sound good, and who cares? But like what these people say is basically like, no, if you think about it this way, it actually tells you something about the world, because maybe what there is like there's an audio system on the Millennium Falcon that tells you, that gives you these sounds, because that's one of the only ways in space where you have like a full spherical plane around you. It's like a good way to tell you where enemy ships would be coming from. It's like, it's obviously silly, but I kind of dig it.
Which I can accept. I mean, the only thing though is that the reason why I harp on this game is because Metroid games are basically games where Samus has to go to places where shit has definitely gone down, right? Sure. And it seems like a conventional place. You go to play Metroid Prime, and Metroid Prime, even the classic Metroid games, like whether it be at a planet or a space station, there is a pretty logical like area of progression and design where it's just like, okay, I can see this place may be being used for something. Maybe somebody used it for there. They're like, there's a logical design of the place where it seems lived in. Here, like, it is obviously not. Like, there is no way any researcher or whatever, unless they had Samus's specific equipment, which they obviously don't, could navigate through this place.
Yeah, you timed that perfectly with that grapple beam sequence.
This is like an interesting sort of thing, because I feel like if Other M was like a game that you liked more, you wouldn't really care, right? Like the only reason we're talking about these things at all is like because this is a game that you don't really like, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out, right?
It's actually not that. It's because just of how the Metroidverse is and how Metroid games work. Their level design is supposed to be like, you know, these actual places where stuff could actually happen, where things actually were happening, right?
I think there's always going to be a suspension of disbelief, which is important and necessary, right?
Of course, but like, you know, there has to be like some sort of lived-in quality to its environments. Like, I mean, if you ever played, like, I'm like, for example, one of the best examples I can think of off the top of my head is Metroid Prime 3. There's this abandoned space station called the Valhalla where everything had just been broken. Like, you are literally like jumping through space because the entire spaceship's broken, and there's dead bodies everywhere and all this other stuff. Like, you know, you go through the environment and you actually think, okay, this actually could have been a place where people actually worked because just of how the place is designed. And that's how Metroid games are supposed to be designed. And even in natural environments, like, these planets should feel alive. Like, if you never set foot here, things will just go on as is, relatively speaking, you know, besides like the stupid blast doors. But like, you know, like there's none of that in this game, and because that is literally the heart and soul of how Metroid really works and how its world works, that's just what rubs me the wrong way entirely.
Yeah, they're very organic, and I think Super Metroid, you know, some of that horrible level design aside, I think it doesn't really. Oh, Super Metroid.
Super Metroid had a good level.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
No. What I mean, there's parts where you have to blow up a wall that is the same as every other wall.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Otherwise, the level design's great. Yeah, so. But I think it has a very organic feel, like the entire planet has a very organic feel, and that is the, you know, part of the heart and soul of Metroid games. And this Other M in comparison just doesn't even begin to hit that level.
I think a lot of the level design and a lot of the gripes that Jordan has with it are very emblematic of sort of the problems with this game in general, or the core problem with this game, which is that they just kind of didn't think hard enough about it.
No, I know. But the thing is, my problem is this is not a Metroid game, really. It really isn't really a Metroid game.
You know what? Now to think of it, the Space Pirates seem to take in level design in their evil plans to take over the universe. Because in Metroid Prime, if you scan, I think if you scan something in the Omega Pirate base, you actually discover that the Space Pirates are trying to create morph ball technology, and with quite disastrous but somewhat humorous results. They say the end result of test subject number 356 suffered great pain before we were able to successfully turn them into a ball.